What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Celtics Daily with me, Mike Zakarian, as we continue to sift through the Boston Celtics NBA offseason, as slow as it may be right now as we hit the end of August. But good news, September's just around the corner. Players are going to be reporting to camp. We'll finally start seeing those last dominoes fall before we tip off to the new NBA season. But do me a favor, before we get into today's slop, hit the subscribe. We're cruised past 2,000 subs. Let's keep it going. Get involved in the chat. We love to see it. All right, our friends from Hoops Hype, excuse me. They got lambasted a little bit earlier this week when our guy Sam Amico was throwing out reports about Anthony Simons heading maybe to Denver or Philadelphia. And if you recall in that video, we broke it down and proved that it was just about physically impossible for that to happen. Well, one of his counterparts, who, again, a little bit more, I wouldn't say well-respected, but, there's a little bit more truth to what he throws out there, said the Milwaukee Bucks have actually shown interest in Anthony Simons. Let me give you the actual quote here. According to Amico Hoops, oh my gosh, I apologize. I thought it was Brett Siegel. No, it was Sam Amico. Good Lord. So again, we're still going to make fun of this guy, I guess. But the Milwaukee Bucks could attempt to trade for Simons, according to Amico. So remember that grain of salt that I said we could get rid of? Let's get it. Let's bring it on back. However, I will say this Bucks one makes a little bit more sense than the other two that we've talked about. Because let me just rattle off some of the Milwaukee Bucks roster for you, because they've had a little bit of a shakeup over the last couple of years, right? They got the Damian Lillard dead money. They're paying Damian Lillard to be on a different team now because they were not interested in him recovering and rehabbing on that squad. So they've got Giannis Antetokounmpo, right? He's making $54 million. Then they went out and got Miles Turner. They traded for Kyle Kuzma halfway through last season for Chris Middleton, right? They've got Bobby Portis on the roster. And then after that, pretty big dip. It's Kevin Porter Jr., Ryan Rollins, Gary Trent Jr., Gary Harris, Taurean Prince, Jericho Sims, AJ Green. They grabbed Cole Anthony on a vet minimum. Andre Jackson Jr.'s over there, and Amir, get yourself a cup of coffee, is there as well. So when you think about the guard play, right? Their starting five this year probably looks like a Giannis, Miles Turner, Kuzma, Kevin Porter Jr., Gary Trent Jr. That's their five right now. Gary Trent Jr., is fine. Gary can get out there and chuck the three ball, of course, with some of the best of them. Real streaky shooter, but when he's on, he's very effective. I think even in the postseason, we saw him go for 30 plus in a game. But they don't have any depth there. They don't have any other guards. And I think even Kevin Porter Jr., we talk about this a lot, but KPJ, probably more of a fantasy point guy than an actual good player. We've seen him bounce around the league quite a bit. He had some struggles on and off the court there with Cleveland, where he started. Then he went to Houston. And then last season, the Clippers, who needed a secondary scorer on their team, or a bench scorer, they just straight up got rid of him. Last season, he averaged 10, 3, and 3, 10 points, 3 boards, and 3 dimes in that season. But actually, if we go to StatMuse, and if we look up Kevin Porter Jr.'s last 20 games, because that was mostly without Damian Lillard, he averaged 12.8 points, 4.6 boards, and 4.5 rebounds. So anyways, Simons would immediately become the best guard on their team. So it does make a little bit more sense. However, financially speaking, it's a little bit trickier. However, it could happen. I put into the trade machine, they'd honestly have to probably get rid of Kyle Kuzma in this deal. Kyle Kuzma is, his value is at an all-time low right now. After that trade from Washington, he looked really bad for Milwaukee, but when you think about Boston's needs, both short-term and long-term, he is sneaky tall, right? He's a big power forward. He's 30. He's 30 years old, 6'9", 221, right? And if he's able to regain any sort of form that we saw, in Washington, he had some flashes, but I think he played with the Wizards long enough that he was like, hey, we don't play competitive basketball here, so I'm just going to go out and do my thing. And I think those bad habits kind of seeped into his play at Milwaukee. And again, I think it's hard sometimes for players who get traded midseason to actually round into form right away. But when you think about him on the Lakers, he was a pretty valuable piece when he was there. If we look at Kuzma's stats, just in general for a career and then his last couple of years, I don't know if it paints the full story, but just to give you a little bit of a picture. So last year he averaged 14, 5, and 2. For a career, he's a 17 and 6 shooter, 17 and 6 average guy. If we look at, Basketball Reference is having a seizure right now. But if we look at maybe his most recent stuff at Washington, right? He had, I guess he averaged 22 points in 23-24, 21 points in 22-23. So again, not like the sexiest of things, but I do think somebody like Kuzma would have to be included just to make the money work, right? Because if you don't include a Kuzma, I don't think they want to trade Bobby Portis. I think they need somebody like Bobby Portis. And then there's a lot of trade restrictions through December on a lot of these other guys. So honestly, I do think it would have to include somebody like Kuzma. But again, when you think about Boston, that's a relatively low risk move, I think. I don't think I would do it. I think I'd rather just keep Simons and see how he progresses this season, whether it's a long-term fit or you could get more back in his return closer to the trade deadline. Again, just to play like, not devil's advocate, but just to run it out, Kuzma at the 4. We're so desperate for 4s right now. I mean, I know I'm like excited for Chris Boucher to play real minutes, but that's not a winning formula. He's 32, and no one in his career has been like, you know what we need to do? Play Chris Boucher 32 minutes a game. So I think adding somebody like Kuzma makes a ton of sense in that world. I don't think, and the other good news, right? He makes $7 million less, or excuse me, $5 million less than Kuzma. $5 million less than Simons this season, and then his contract actually goes down next year to $20 million, and then it's off the book. So again, thinking about what the Celtics need to address next season in getting a big man, right? I would rather have that flexibility, that $20 million that you'd be having to give to Kuzma next year, rather hang on to that and then be able to make a move next year. But again, listen, our guy Amico putting some slop out there, so we'll slop it up and talk about it. I do think Milwaukee, out of all of the situations that they've talked about, like Milwaukee's front court is so desperate right now. I really thought Bradley Beal, who is now a Los Angeles Clipper, I thought he had a shot at going to Milwaukee. And I'm honestly really surprised he didn't, because he was basically playing a third banana over there in Phoenix with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. And he seemed unhappy in that role, standing in the corner and chucking threes, right? I thought going to Milwaukee, where he clearly would be the best guard on that team, would start, the ball would be in his hand a lot, have a little two-man game with Giannis. You got Miles Turner to pick and pop over there. I thought that made a lot of sense, both for the Bucks and for what he wants to do. And I just, real quick, man, there was an absolute insane quote yesterday from Ty Lue. Oh, man, I don't think I'm going to have it popped up, because we were just, here it is. About Bradley Beal going to the Clippers. And like, I just want to throw this out there because, again, anytime you think maybe I'm crazy, just remember some of these quotes. This is Ty Lue, who are arguably like one of the best coaches in the league right there. I'd put him up there with Spoelstra and Rick Carlisle. He said, this is about Bradley Beal. Defensively, he's always been good, but you got to challenge him every night. If he's on bad players, he's not as good, but when he's guarding a guy that can play, he's a really good defender. He then went on to say that he was buried behind KD and Devin Booker, and that was part of the reason that he was bad. It's just like, I watched those games, man. I watched those games. He was a $50 million bench player last season. So we'll see. We'll see. But anyways, I thought Bradley Beal would have made a ton of sense in Milwaukee. So back to this report, I do think Milwaukee is going to be in the market for guard play. They're really hoping that Kevin Porter Jr. can keep it together. And then I will say one of like the sneakier off-season vet minimum pickups that I would have been fine if the Celtics went and got is Cole Anthony. I do think like there is something to be unlocked with Cole Anthony. I feel like he fell out of favor with Orlando. He's definitely a one-way player. Like he doesn't bring too much to the table defensively. Offensively, though, can shoot the ball, can get hot. I like, he's a streaky bench guy. I'll never forget him trying to do the dunk contest a few years ago in Tim's, and it took like 45 attempts, I think, for him to throw it down. But anyways, something to keep an eye on. Let's go to Europe, baby. I had already switched things. Yeah, ball's out in Europe. We got to talk about EuroBasket because Neemias Queta, I mentioned it while we were live, right? I think he had like 12 points and 7 boards or something while we were live. While we started the video yesterday, the Portuguese prince that was promised, Neemias Queta, was out there, and he finished the game in a Portuguese win. Let's go over these stats. Portugal beats the Czech Republic 62-50. Queta had 23 and 18. 23 points and 18 boards. Those are Nikola Jokic numbers, baby. Let's give you some field goal stats. He only took 15 shots and he made 11 of them. He went 1 for 1 from 3. Also, shout out Bobby Manning from Celtics blog and CNLS Media, who had a report earlier in the week, as we get a doggo sighting, earlier in the month, excuse me, and was talking about Kata working on some jump shots. And listen, Trey Kirby, Taco Trey from No Dunks, which if you're not listening to No Dunks, good stuff. He made a great point that these are NBA basketball players. And so when they're in a gym by themselves, whether they're 7 feet or 5 feet tall, they can knock down open shots. So you shouldn't be overwhelmed when you see Rudy Gobert hit a 3 in practice with nobody around him. However, Kata was doing that and then knocked one down, and it was smooth, baby. The highlights were great. And not only that, the Czech Republic, now granted, the Czech Republic, I'm going to rattle off some names, see if you know these last names. Petrka, Ruben, Krislik, Kris, Svoboda, right? Like, not household NBA names, but they gave up on trying to get to the rim because of Kata's presence defensively. The rim protection was awesome. The offensive game was awesome. Again, this is way more impressive than summer league performances. But what I would say is that this they're like still a little bit of a grain of salt because it's EuroBasket, different type of game. However, that was sick. And I'm excited. This has got me excited to check out the next Portugal game, because if Kata is really going to be able to develop, this was like, listen, I was hoping he was going to play like 22 minutes a game as a starter for the Celtics, a la Time Lord Robert Williams back in the day. Maybe be a little bit better offensively, a little bit worse defensively, 12 points, 11 boards, something like that. If he is able to, not only, I don't even need the numbers to be like 23 and 18, of course, that would be like ridiculous. If that's like, that would be an insane stat line for him with his first year starting. But I'm more excited about the idea that he could actually play 30 minutes a game or 28 minutes a game, because what that does is limit the amount we have to use the other front court guys. And I know some of you out there have taken that Luka Garza candy or Xavier Tillman or whoever. But I think if Kata is able to just be like a legit starting center, that really does change the outlook, not only for this season, but for the for seasons to come when Tatum comes back. Because if you're able to be like, hey man, we don't have to go spend $25 million a year on Isaiah Hartenstein when he hits free agency, or overpay Mitchell Robinson to get a starting center. We've got one, so we just need some depth now instead. Anyways, that excited me. So shout out our guy Kata. Just a couple of other European things, since a bunch of NBA players are out there. If you missed it, Nikola Jokic had an insane pass yesterday in Serbia's win over, I believe, Estonia. And I think they won by 1 million, if that's right. Let's see, let's go to the results. I believe it was over Estonia, right? And Jokic was nuts. Jovic was nuts. They won 98-64. Just quickly here on some of these stats. Jokic finished the game just doing best player in the world stuff. But it's so funny. Even when he's with his international team, he still is making sure he's getting everybody else involved. He's going to be one of the best guys to play with. Jovic had 18. Nikola Jovic of the Miami Heat had 18, 6, and 4. Jokic had 11, 10, and 7. Bogdan Bogdanovic was out there too. He had a good game. We had Kristaps Porzingis played yesterday in a loss, actually. They ended up losing to Turkey, I believe it was yesterday, which was surprising. For those of you guys that remember, former NBA legend, Cleveland Cavalier, Cedi Osman was out there for Turkey. Latvia got smoked. It was 93-73 in this one. Let me pull up some Kristaps Porzingis numbers for you to see how our asthmatic king was doing. He was all the way down, played 25 minutes, only 10 points, went 3 for 12 from the field, 0 for 5 from 3. The Zanger wasn't doing it, but it was Sengun who was balling. Sengun had 16, 8, and 7. And then another former Celtic, Shane Larkin. Shane Larkin was out there, and he was balling for Turkey. I did not know he played for Turkey. The last one I'll pull up is just Sweden. Sweden and Finland. Finland won this one 93-90. And listen, if you want to get excited about some trade deadline spectaculars, how about Lauri Markkanen? Lauri Markkanen is just an international legend. He went 10 for 13 from the field, 6 for 8 from 3, 28 points, 5 boards, 28 points, 6 boards, and 3 dimes. He was great. I'm sorry, he went 7 for 15 from the field. I was reading the Swedish line of Laurie Hawkinson. But anyways, that's the Euro stuff. I'll keep you guys up to date on how that's going. I don't know how to watch it. I was trying to find some illegal streams yesterday, and it was too hard. So if you know how, put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. All right, next up. Saw something going around yesterday. There was a lot of chatter on the Twitter machine about Tatum. Here it was. This is a guy called Harden Hoops, and it said, has Jason Tatum already passed Carmelo Anthony all time? Now, this feels super clickbaity because Melo is going into the Hall of Fame this weekend, I believe. And I, growing up was a Melo guy. I remember the first time I ever won a March Madness bracket tournament. I think I was a junior in college, and it was in our local town convenience store ran one. And this is before you could go to like CBSSports.com and they'd have the bracket. You had to print that shit out, and then it was all over the store. It was incredible. I love small town Massachusetts, baby. Shout out Lakeville, home of Ocean Spray. Though Cranberries, where you at? Not the band, the actual fruit. And anyways, it was the year Syracuse. I took Kansas to beat Syracuse in the finals, but it was Syracuse that beat Kansas, and that was the Melo year. And Jerry McNamara, who was the other guy? Hakeem Warwick on that team too. Anyways, now we're just naming dudes. We're just out here naming dudes. But Melo, I was always a fan of him. His career was long. Right? It was long. He played 19 years in the league for a career, averaged 22 points, 6 boards, 2 dimes, 44% from the field. The ultimate mid-range guy. I think I was a bigger fan of him when he was on Denver. I really enjoyed those Denver teams. His rookie year finished second in rookie of the year voting. How many times did he make All NBA? Like we got to have that here quickly. He was a 10-time All-Star, the scoring champ in 2012, 2013, 6-time All NBA guy, All Rookie Team, top 75 all time. And so those accolades are pretty nuts. How many times did he make First team All NBA? Does it say that? NBA 3, NBA 2. So it doesn't look like he made first team All NBA. A lot of second team, a lot of third team. You got to remember, though, as a forward, being in the league with like Dirk and Tim Duncan and Shaq and all those guys. I mean, Shaq's a center, but you know what I'm saying. LeBron, that gang. Makes it a little bit more difficult. So I think it's kind of nuts to put Tatum ahead of Melo now at this point, considering Melo played 19. And what's Tatum at here? Is Tatum played 9? Is this would be his 9th year? He's played 8 years. But listen, this is his career average so far through 585 games. He's averaged more points than him, more boards, and more dimes. 23 points, 0.6 points per game in his career, 7.3 boards, almost 4 assists, 45% from the field, almost 46, 37% from 3, 84% from the line. He's already a 6-time All-Star, so he's only chasing Melo by 4. An NBA champ, which Melo doesn't have. 5-time All-NBA. And what did we say? Melo is 6-time All-NBA. Tatum's a 5-time All-NBA, and I believe 4 first-team All-NBAs. The Eastern Conference MVP? I didn't know the 2021-2022 Eastern Conference Eastern Conference Finals MVP, excuse me. Good Lord. And then 2022-23 All-Star MVP. But 4 consecutive first-team All-NBAs, and honestly, like his last 4 seasons, correct? And this probably would have continued. This probably would have continued if it wasn't for the injury. He also finished since they've created the award, the Clutch Player of the Year. He's finished top 10 in that 3 consecutive years. He's made the All-Star 6 consecutive seasons. There's only been his rookie season, he finished 3rd in Rookie of the Year voting, didn't make an All-Star team. His second season, didn't win anything. And then since then, he's made the All-Star team every single year, 6 consecutive years. So I think it's kind of tough to immediately put him ahead of Melo, but like outside of tragic events, Tatum is going to finish ahead of Melo. I mean, the consistency in which Tatum what he has done is just so impressive. And I know we've talked about it before, but he's just such a underestimated guy. Not underestimated. What's the right word? Like, not we don't put enough respect on his name, I guess is what I'm saying. I mean, look at the starting in 2019, 2020, all right? Every single season, averaged 23 points per game, 26 points per game, 27 points per game, 30 points per game, 27 points per game, 27 points per game. And the most impressive thing is the rebounding slowly going up from like 3 boards, 4.3, 4.6, 4.9, 6 boards per game, over a steal per game for his entire career. Tatum, he's just a better two-way player. I don't think anyone will recreate what Melo could do in like the mid-range, how once he got to his spot, it was a bucket. I mean, like one of the best scoring forwards that we've seen. Well, I mean, obviously Kevin Durant, but he was up there. So I don't know. Are you, like, let me throw this to you. Are you putting Tatum ahead of Melo right now? Like right now, if Tatum's career was over right now, does Tatum have a better career than Melo? I think it's tough to say right now, but with the projection of what's to come, he should. He should. All right, there we go. There's some clickbait for you today. I know you guys really love that. I can tell by the comments. Speaking of the comments, let's get to some of your comments. Not a ton from yesterday. It's a slop season, not a lot going on. Mostly people just upset that Devin Booker made the thumbnail. But here's the thing, guys. You want to know why Booker made the thumbnail? The first thing we talked about was Matt Ishbia and the Phoenix Suns. You want me to put Matt Ishbia on the thumbnail? Would that be your Viagra for the morning? Would you get rock hard for Ish? So that's why he made it. Let's get to Darren Anderson's comment, which I believe the second time he's gotten on there in the last couple of days. Darren says, first, I want to say thank you for reading my comment. You know what, Darren? You're freaking welcome. He said Fultz, because remember he mentioned Markelle Fultz as a potential Celtic guard. Fultz was just the first name that came to mind as a free agent point guard that would take little bit of money. Now, after I heard your concern, I did look into the point guards and have 3 others that I'd rather throw at you. First would be Delano Banton, Portland Trail Blazers legend. Was a Celtic for a short time and was always a player I've enjoyed over the years to watch. Second, Malcolm Brogdon, former Celtic and good vet. The problem here is the injury history, but if he's healthy, would be a player I'm interested. Finally, Russell Westbrook, and then said, I'm not sure what, ... Yeah, we mentioned Russ a little bit yesterday. I'm just more fascinated to see where he goes. Ben Simmons, another name too. We should talk about Brogdon, though. Brogdon, I do think, is a fun piece to mention. I don't know what Brogdon wants right now. You're right, the injury history is a concern. But when I think about Malcolm, it's weird to just call him Malcolm and not Brogdon. Does he want to just have a chance where he can play? Like, does he just miss playing basketball? Because then the Celtics do make sense because he could just come in and play. And he'd be for a vet minimum for sure because of the injury history. Probably just like a 1 or 2 year deal, like maybe a player option for the second year or a team option for the second year. I don't know. Ben, maybe he just wants to like rehabilitate his value, just get out on the court. But Brogdon also, like when healthy, is a good basketball player, a good vet, like you mentioned, and maybe he wants to be on a competitive team. So if that's the case, the Celtics might not make the most sense. But I do like the name Brogdon. I think that's a good shout. And Delano Banton, I'll just say, I don't know what to make of Banton. And again, I know I've mentioned fantasy basketball quite a bit over the last couple of weeks because I'm a big fantasy hooper. Banton for like I don't think he did it last year, but the 2 years prior, when it gets to garbage time and the Trailblazers are like, hey, listen, we're going into the tank, Delano Banton turned into like a 30-point per game score. It was nuts. So I'm all for giving Delano a flyer. I like his game. He's fun to watch, especially if you're going to be a bad team. He's really fun. But that's going to do it for me. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe on the way out. We'll see you tomorrow.